This morning, battle lines drawn. Leaders hit the campaign trail and make their pitch to voters as a date for the election is locked in. A tough start to the week for commuters. New South Wales bus drivers walk off the job. Panic as a gunman opens fire in a nightclub in the US. Charges laid after a protester storms onto Shark Park with a lit flare. And victory rap. Ferrari fans party into the night after Charles Leclerc's runaway win in Melbourne.
This is 7 News with Angie Asimus.
Good morning. The election campaign is in full swing this morning after Australians finally learned the date we'll be heading to the polls. Political reporter Taylor Aiken is in Canberra. Taylor, leaders have wasted no time making their pitch to voters.
Yeah, that's right, Angie. Good morning. Both have hit the ground running, outlining their plan for the future of the country. The Prime Minister opting for a longer campaign period, 6 weeks, as they both fight it out for the top job. Facing Australia, the pandemic Prime Minister makes his pitch.
It's a choice between a strong future and an uncertain one.
Determined to see his government survive, while accepting his own popularity's taken a hit, telling voters it isn't about him.
This election is about you, no one else.
Leaving Kirribilli for his jet in Sydney, ahead of the quick flight to Canberra, and then the electoral procession with a rowdy reception outside Government House, asking the Governor-General to dissolve the 46th Parliament ahead of the campaign of his political life.
I get it that people are tired of politics as we go into this election.
Yet opting for more politics, a 6-week campaign, polling day, May 21, yet Anthony Albanese wants voters to know who he is.
I am who I am. I'm a working class lad. I grew up not far from here in Sydney in public housing. I'm comfortable in a boardroom and I'm comfortable in a pub.
Pushing his government's economic achievements, the PM warning now's not the time for change.
It's a choice between a government you know and a Labor opposition that you don't.
But Anthony Albanese says voters already know the Morrison government and the Prime Minister.
He's running an election campaign whereby his Deputy Prime Minister has said he's a hypocrite and a liar.
And the people will soon have their final say. And with the countdown to Election Day well and truly on, each side is really looking to try and find that competitive edge. The latest news poll showing Labor's primary vote has fallen since last week, but still remain ahead of the coalition. While support for Anthony Albanese has also fallen as preferred Prime Minister, while Scott Morrison has gained 1 point. And both Scott Morrison and Anthony Albanese will be on Sunrise to kick off the election campaign a little later this morning. Angie?
Thank you, Taylor. In breaking news, bus drivers have walked off the job for 24 hours across Sydney and parts of New South Wales in what's shaping up as a nightmare start to the working week for commuters. They've gone on strike as of midnight, demanding fair pay and working conditions, and the disruption is expected to impact routes across the Sydney metropolitan area as well as regional centres. Affected lines are running on a reduced timetable and commuters are being warned to prepare for delays. 2 people are dead and another 10 have been injured in another nightclub shooting in the US. The incident at a club in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, happened during the early hours of this morning. A routine patrol nearby arrived just minutes after gunfire rang out. Police quickly secured the scene, but it's not known if any arrests were made. Those injured were taken to hospital. A man has been charged after running onto the field during the Sharks-Tigers clash with a lit flare. The 32-year-old brought the game to a halt and managed to get dangerously close to players before he was dragged away by security. The flare was put out with a fire extinguisher.
Well, this is outrageous. I mean, where's the security here? I mean, if ever a bloke deserved to be driven in a tackle, this is the bloke.
It's the second pitch invasion in as many days. The man was refused bail and will face court this morning. Russian forces continue to gather near eastern Ukraine with strikes on residential areas, putting civilians increasingly under threat. Ukrainian officials have reported new attacks in the Donbas region and are urging people to leave. Satellite images show a large Russian military convoy east of Kharkiv. Moscow has announced a new battlefield commander to lead the charge in the country's east. Meantime, Pope Francis has called for an Easter ceasefire, so real negotiations can take place to achieve peace. It's only been a short visit, but Princess Anne's trip to Sydney has already had a big impact. The Princess Royal met with the families of 2 firefighting volunteers who lost their lives protecting others, a moment that meant so much to those who are still grieving.
Thank you for allowing me to join you today. But to also remember those that did have to sacrifice their lives.
I think it was very nice that she took the time out to acknowledge us.
My son's death must have meant something.
Today, the Princess will take a tour of the Royal Australian Corps before jetting off to Papua New Guinea. A quick check of sport now. Ferrari's Charles Leclerc has produced a stunning drive to secure victory in the Australian Grand Prix. The 24-year-old led for the entire race, with Red Bull's Max Verstappen failing to finish when his engine caught fire. After a rough start to the season, Daniel Ricciardo finished 6th in front of a record home crowd. Nearly 420,000 people walked through the gates at Albert Park over 4 days. Checking Monday's weather now. Sunny in Brisbane and 29 degrees. A possible late shower in Sydney, 27. Possible shower developing in Canberra, 25 degrees. Morning showers for Melbourne, 18. Cloudy in Hobart, top of to 16. Partly cloudy for Adelaide, 24. A shower or two for Perth and 21. And sunny in Darwin, 35. Coming up on 7 Early News, an elderly couple pulled from a burning wreck with just seconds to spare. A family faces a heartbreaking choice in the wake of a brawl. And a David and Goliath battle, the two giants going after an Aussie winemaker. These are the stories we're following on 7 Early News. Millions of Australians will head to the polls on May 21 to elect our next federal government. Sydney commuters can expect more delays and disruption this morning as bus drivers go on strike. Civilians are being urged to leave eastern Ukraine as Russia steps up airstrikes and redoubles its efforts to take the region. And a man has been charged after running onto the field during the Tigers-Sharks clash with a lit flare. A couple aged in their 80s has escaped the wreck of a burning caravan with just seconds to spare thanks to quick-thinking police. Video from the officer's body cam showed the dramatic rescue after a crash on the southwestern highway 140 k's south of Perth.
Undo your seatbelt! Undo your seatbelt! Go! I'm so glad to see you alive.
Just moments after they were freed, the fuel tank exploded. The family of a man knocked unconscious during a brawl in Sydney's inner south is trying to come to terms with the heartbreaking news that he will not survive. Evander Tuala was attacked outside a pub and suffered such severe injuries his life support is soon to be switched off. Police have already charged 2 men and they're on the hunt for others involved. A young woman is fighting for life in hospital after becoming trapped inside her Adelaide home after it caught fire. Firefighters pulled her to safety, but not before she suffered horrific burns. 11 others, 6 of them children, managed to escape the flames unharmed. The cause of the blaze is not yet known. It's a David versus Goliath battle over an Aussie drop. The makers of a sulphate-free wine are vowing to fight to keep their brand Purple Rain. They've survived a legal challenge from the estate of late singer Prince, but they're now battling a real global giant.
A WA company behind the world's first purple wine taking on the Prince who reigned the charts.
Purple Rain, Purple Rain.
2 mates received a cease and desist from his estate over their signature drop, Purple Rain.
So we thought, it's got to be a joke. 2 Aussie
battlers trying to
Fight a dead man.
They agreed to change their name in the US and European markets, their pockets not deep enough to take on Prince's purse, but they're now digging deep to take on another global force. Reign Beverages, which is owned by a cashed-up conglomerate, Coca-Cola. That battle is still in play over claims the wine is highly similar in overall appearance and conception.
Reign, more than just total body fuel.
The company couldn't be contacted today.
Tim and Roscoe say they've spent tens of thousands of dollars defending their brand. The invoices from lawyers are piling up, but they're vowing to keep fighting until their barrel runs dry.
companies with a lot of resources can basically shut you down just by way of having deep pockets and a lot of lawyers.
Bigger companies will try and crush any opposition that they have. So it's often the case that they're not right and they do need to be challenged.
Hoping lawyers don't rain on Purple Rain's parade. Cassidy Moscone, 7 News.
The outback Queensland town of Birdsville has exploded, with thousands making the trek to the Simpson Desert for a historic race meeting. It's the first time in the event's 140-year history that 2 race meetings are being held in the same year. COVID meant last September's races had to be bumped to this month.
Yeah, look, we haven't done it since September 2019, so we're pretty excited, and it's weird to have a Birdsville races in April. But
the races continue today. Checking finance now, the Dow Jones ended the session 138 points higher. The Nasdaq down 186 points. In London, the FTSE 100 added and Germany's DAX gained. On the commodities market, gold is trading at $1,945 an ounce. Oil is back under $100 a barrel. The Aussie dollar is buying 75.5 US cents, approaching 93 Japanese yen and $1.08 New Zealand. Still to come on 7 Early News, French voters head to the polls to choose their next president. And shocking find, one of Europe's largest ever taxidermy collections uncovered. These are the stories we're following on 7 Early News. Millions of Australians will head to the polls on May 21 to elect our next federal government. Sydney commuters can expect more delays and disruption this morning as bus drivers go on strike. Civilians are being urged to leave eastern Ukraine as Russia steps up airstrikes and redoubles its efforts to take the region. And a man has been charged after running onto the field during the Tigers-Sharks clash with a lit flare. French President Emmanuel Macron leads the opening round of voting in the country's presidential election, casting his own ballot while in northern France. His biggest threat is far-right candidate Marine Le Pen, and the polling gap between the two favourites has narrowed dramatically over the past few weeks. Exit polls suggest the incumbent will face a runoff against Le Pen on April 24. Shanghai is grappling with serious food shortages as the city enters its second week of COVID lockdown. Its 26 million residents have been confined to their homes for the past 2 weeks in a bid to curb the number of infections. The outbreak has paralysed the city's supply chain, angering residents who claim they've been forced to go without food and medicine. Spanish authorities are investigating how a businessman came to be in possession of more than 1,000 stuffed animals. The private taxidermy museum contains more than 400 protected animals and 1 specimen of an animal which is already extinct. Stuffed specimens of cheetah, leopard, lion, polar bear and white rhino were among those seized. The collection is estimated to be worth more than $40 million on the black market. IVF providers have been stunned by a surge in demand during the pandemic. Many prospective parents are starting the process earlier than planned rather than putting off having a family.
John and Laura Summers are preparing to start their second IVF journey. John survived testicular cancer. The couple beat the odds and welcomed baby Adeline last year, sharing their experience online.
but we were super lucky, and now we have our little baby after 15 egg retrievals. And
my 2 surgeries.
John had a couple of surgeries as well, so it was a long road for us.
The latest Medicare figures show rather than slowing over the pandemic, demand for services surged. Over 2 years to the end of 2021, IVF procedures rose 27% nationally. The biggest jump was in Victoria, up 36%. Next were Queensland and New South Wales.
We're so busy. We have increased our business by about 1,000 cycles a year.
Patients have told doctors living through COVID-19 made them reassess priorities.
I think people realise what's important in life. Actually, having a family is more important than anything else.
Pandemic shutdowns made it extremely difficult for many Australians trying to start a family. But most clinics say they've now caught up on missed appointments and they're eager to take on new patients.
I think the biggest thing is just start. If you need to, just get in the game.
Emma O'Sullivan, 7 News.
Australia's Cam Smith is hot on the heels of America's Scotty Scheffler in the final round of the Masters. Live to US Bureau Chief Ashley Mullaney. Ash, this could be an incredible day for Australian golf.
Angie, good morning. This is the best day on the golfing calendar. Sunday, the final day of the Masters, and we have an Aussie in contention. Cam Smith biting at the heels of world #1 Scotty Scheffler, and he is wasting no time today. 2 birdies in the first 2 holes this afternoon, playing at Augusta, closing the gap. He is just 1 stroke back from the lead now, so things are looking good for Cam Smith today. He tied for second back in 2020. If he takes home that prized green jacket, he will be the first Aussie since Adam Scott 9 years ago, and only the second Aussie to ever win the Masters. Of course, the other big story today is Tiger Woods. He is now out of the competition, but an incredible effort to even play 72 holes of golf after that horrific vehicle accident over a year ago. But the story has shifted. It is all eyes on Cam Smith right now. There's lots of hype about him here in the States. The guy with the mullet and the moustache has been described as a natural-born killer. Let's wait to see if he can pull it off. Angie, very exciting.
It is a big day ahead. Thank you very much, Ash. Well, Carlton are hopeful superstar Patrick Cripps won't be out for long after suffering a hamstring injury in the loss to Gold Coast. The Blues captain left the field late in the first quarter at Metricon Stadium and didn't return to the field. Coach Michael Voss says it's minor, but they'll wait to see the scans.
I've had scenarios before where you say that and it turns out to be something else. So we'll just wait, find out and do the assessment as needed.
Carlton struggled without Cripps as the Suns won their second game of the year by 30 points. The Bulldogs showed signs of improvement, but it wasn't enough to come close to the Panthers. The reigning NRL premiers looked on track for a big night, bursting out of blocks to a 14-0 lead midway through the first half. Dylan Edwards finishing off a brilliant team try.
Still going, finds Edwards now, and the Panthers go coast to coast.
Unlike last week's thrashing by the Storm, Canterbury didn't let the scoreline blow out too far, holding on for a competitive 32-12 loss. Dogs 5'8" Matt Burton was put on report for a chicken wing tackle on Liam Martin. The Roosters are celebrating an incredible run to their maiden NRLW premiership after nearly missing the finals. The Tricolours rebounded from a second-minute Dragons try, scoring 3 of their own to win 16-4 in the grand final.
The Sydney Roosters from nowhere sneak into the finals and are premiers for the first time.
Sarah Togatuki won the Karen Murphy Medal for Player of the Match. The Premier League title race isn't over yet. Many speculated the winner of Manchester City and Liverpool's clash at the Etihad would go on to win the league, but the top 2 couldn't be separated. The Reds fought back from a goal down twice to hold on for a 2-2 draw.
He's rolled it into the path of Sadio Mane! 2-2! A red blur at the start of the second half!
Former Red Raheem Sterling had a potential second-half winner ruled out for offside. Only 1 point separates the 2 English giants. Next on 7 Early News, a closer look at how the weather is shaping up in your part of the country. A family of 5 has had a lucky escape in Argentina after a train smashed into their car on a railroad crossing outside Buenos Aires. Footage shows the male driver trying to push the stalled vehicle across the track only to be sent flying through the air. His wife and 3 children were in the car at the time. All 5 escaped with just minor injuries. Taking a look at the weather around the country, a trough in WA will deepen, causing rain and storms to scatter across the state's south. A front will cool Tasmania, Victoria and southern New South Wales, and later central New South Wales with the help of a few showers, while a trough in the north will gain moisture to cause heavy showers through the northern tropics. Around the capital, sunny in Brisbane and 29 degrees. A possible late shower for Sydney, top of 27. A possible shower developing in Canberra and 25 degrees. Morning showers in Melbourne, 18. Cloudy for Hobart, top of just 16. Partly cloudy in Adelaide, 24. A shower or two for Perth, 21. And sunny in Darwin, 35 degrees. And that is 7 Early News. I'm Angie Asimus. Now it's time for Sunrise with Koshi and Mon.
Happening now, it's on. Election 2022. The leaders hit the official campaign trail. ScoMo and Albo are live on Sunrise with their pitch for your vote.
Breaking